the absence data entry, and let's say this time it's Lee Richards who's not going to be in, and we can pick today's date, and it's going to be a sick absence. The start time of the absence will be 9 a.m., and it will be for the full day, so 4 till 4 p.m., let's say, and the system allows you to type in a comment, so sick, and that's it. That's the only absence for today. So we click exit. Let's go back into this employee absence summary, and if we go to Lee Richards, there you can see January 12th. There's the data that I just entered. So we can now go into the substitute teacher data entry, and we want to bring in a substitution for Lee Richards. So January, and you can see I have some previous data here. So January 12th, 9 a.m., start time, 4 p.m. end time, and the substitute teacher, Courtney Wilson's going to be busy today, so there she is, and the regular teacher we're substituting for is Lee Richards, and sick, and there you go. So just to confirm, we can go back in to Lee Richards' record, and there's the substitution, and there's the absence noted. So that's essentially all from a data entry perspective that needs to happen. And from all of that data that gets entered on a daily basis, day by day, week by week, that then will allow you as administrators, or the administrator of your school, to run reports and manage what needs to happen on a fairly efficient, pretty efficient basis. So the data's in there. Let's now take a look at some of the reports that the system has, and you can see how that data becomes persisted in the application. So we go into the reports module, staff reports, and let's take a look at the substitute teacher report. And we entered the data for January, so I'll start at the first of the month, and we'll go till the end of the month, but I could have just as easily left it today. Print preview reports, and there's the reports. So there's Lee Richards substituting for Gail Henderson, and there's some math that the report does, a whole bunch of different math. If I had substitution rates in here, hourly rates for this individual, you'd see that that information also in terms of dollars. That data just doesn't happen to be there because this is test data, but the system also does those dollar calculations. And here's the data that I just entered for the substitute Courtney Wilson, and you can see the system has performed some calculations based on that as well. So simply a matter of running these reports on a regular basis, however you run your payroll, whether it's on a biweekly, semi-monthly, or monthly basis. And then this detail gets handed off to your accounting or bookkeeping function, and teachers can get paid. So there's no more fumbling around with spreadsheets and multiple instances of different spreadsheets and trying to figure out which is the most current version, and then mail merging that, or worse, having to fill out paper forms of who substituted when, and then having to hand that, hand that over to a bookkeeper to then enter everything into Excel or into QuickBooks or what have you. That takes up an inordinate amount of time. Trust me, because when I started at, so when I was working at some of the schools that I was working at, that's how they managed it. And an entire bookkeeping function was in large part devoted to just managing this aspect. And once this application was brought into our clients, bookkeeping time was now being spent on more value-added things rather than tracking substitute teachers in a very laborious manner. So that's that aspect. That's that functionality. The other piece of it, the other report that I wanted to briefly show you, is the teacher sick and personal day report. And again, we can run a report. I'm going to run it as at the end of January. And when we hit print preview, you can see a report shows up in memo format that outlines, does a bunch of various calculations and shows the sick and personal day usage for this individual teacher, performs a bunch of calculations so that if you are a school that gives your staff sick and personal time, if you allocate that out on a month-by-month basis, and if people can bank that and carry that over from one year to the next, this system can accommodate all of that. So here's the memo for Gail Henderson, and here's the same memo for Lee Richards with the sick time noted. So you can see that entering data in one location in the system was enough to drive all of these various reports. So there's no further intervention that's required by the user. Once data gets entered, it's there to be used. We have a couple of questions, so I'm going to deal with those now. It's 10:25, so again, I want to be cognizant of time. One of our attendees has asked a question, how to set up a staff member in the system. So let me show you how to do that. That's a great question. Let's just go back. From the perspective of Phoenix NP Complete, anyone who has any kind of relationship with your school and who is not a student is considered a contact. We treat students differently because students have parents, students have siblings, and so students are treated differently because they have a whole host of data that needs to be accommodated separately. So a staff member, a parent, a donor, an aunt, uncle of a student, anyone like that is considered a contact. So in order to enter a new staff member, we go into the contacts module, and the very first option here, contact information by contact name, we click on that button, and you can see here the main point of entry for entering contacts. So we can click this Add New Contact button, and the system refreshes the screen and allows us to enter a new contact. So I'm going to enter some data here, and sorry, my typing skills this morning are a little bit weak because I like the last name Smith. I'll put that in, and the system makes use of drop-down menus wherever necessary. Whoops, sorry. Told you my typing skills this morning were not so great. Okay, and how we now, so that data is in there. This is only a one-person record, so I'm going to click person 1 there. And how we designate this individual as a staff member is through this contact relationship feature. So we click the drop-down menu, and you can see a whole host of different relationship types, and we are going to call this person a staff person. And there you go. And that is all there is to it. So now Florence Smith is entered in the system as a staff person. So when I click Exits, and when I then go to the staff module, staff personal and salary information, there's Gail Henderson, there's Lee Richards, and there's Florence Smith. And so now we can begin to enter the staff-specific data related to Florence Smith. And so really it's as easy as that. So I hope that's answered that question nicely and succinctly as possible. We do have another question, and that is transferring staff data from one year to the next. As you may have guessed, Phoenix NP Complete does have a concept of time. It tracks academic school years from one year to the next. The system is currently configured for the 2010 school year. At the end of a school year in the July or August time frame, just before the start of the new school year, Phoenix NP Complete has a process whereby the database is rolled over or prepared for the new school year. So what that means is any data that is school year dependent will then be prepared for the new school year. Clearly, first and foremost amongst that is student data. Students are migrated from one grade to the next year over year, but also staff. Staff are migrated from one year to the next. Staff members may decide to come back next year. Staff members may not come back next year. So Phoenix NP Complete in the Utilities module does have functionality to roll the database